And we are live. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my two co hosts, Colin and Will. Today, we're going live once again for the third game of the Rangers season, the home opener against the Arizona Coyotes. As we get started, I'll let the views fill in really quick to anyone joining us. If you have any questions or anything you want to hear us talk about, be sure to leave a comment and we will respond to it. But as people start to get settled in and join us, Colin, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a hectic day. A lot of car problems, but I'm happy I was able to make it in time for the live stream.
Good. I'm glad. Will, how about you? How you feeling today?
This is the second time I've been asked by you today, which is very nice. Feels good. I'm feeling really good today. Actually, my energy is back up better than yesterday or the day before. I'm excited for Rangers hockey because I'm actually going to be able to watch the entire game.
Of course, it is the home opener. Rangers up against the Coyotes in about 40 minutes. We'll be chatting and answering your guys' questions till then. Joe is here in the chat. He says, "Hiya, fellas. How you doing, Joe?"
What's going on, Joe?
What's up, Joe?
So game time tonight against the Coyotes. Kind of like I don't want to say a weaker team, but I think the Rangers are a little more skilled. I don't want to sit here and bash other teams, but hopefully the Rangers can pull off a win kind of easily. Colin, how are you feeling headed into this game? Are you confident? You think we can bounce back?
I'm hoping that they'll look at last game as a bit of a wake-up call. I think that the Rangers have a hard time of constantly finding themselves like underestimating opponents, and we've talked about it multiple times, just playing down to their level. And I think that they need to avoid doing that. And I think that the game against the Blue Jackets was like a slap in the face because as hot as they started, they still ended up losing that game, and they had an entirely cold second period. So I'm hoping that they'll bounce back this game.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a bounce back game too. It looks like you have a fan in the chat, Colin.
Yeah, that's Astle.
He's so right, Colin is done.
Will, how are you feeling heading into this game? Are you confident?
I'm confident, but this is not the Arizona team that was. This isn't the same Arizona team of the last couple of years. This team's going to be sneaky. They have Logan Cooley, who is a Calder favorite, and a lot of people are betting that he could steal it from Bedard. Clayton Keller obviously is very good as well, but this team is a lot better than they were the past couple of years, so I don't think the Rangers should take them easy at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Kind of like Colin said, playing down to our opponents. It happens a lot, more than it should. Nicholas here in the chat says we're playing against Connor Ingram. We're about to get goalied super hard. That is unfortunately a thing that happens a lot to the Rangers, where rookie goalies kind of just come in and shut us out. I don't know what the deal is, but it always happens. So I don't know, Colin, if you know anything about Ingram. I'm not sure if you do, but just the fact that we always get goalied, like, why? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. You'd think it would be the opposite. It would be, as much of an offensive powerhouse as we have been. I think the Rangers have scored, 5 goals in a ridiculous number of games. I saw a stat on Twitter where it was like we've scored 5 goals in multiple, 30-something games, which is like the second most in the league since 2020. And yet we still fluster against rookie goalies who have barely seen any action. I remember Devon Levi came in last year. I was like, oh, here we go. We could chalk this one up as a loss. And it's just a consistent problem that they struggle with rookie goaltenders and getting to them early and rattling them.
I feel like it's not even just rookie goalies too. I feel like everyone has scored their first NHL goal against us. I'm shocked that we didn't let was it Fantilli on Columbus? I'm shocked that he didn't score, but we made sure it didn't happen, but instead we gave Boone Jenner a hat trick. So it's a win-lose right there. Let's see. We got a lot of people in the chat here. Joe says once again, I don't know why he keeps pushing us up like that. Is it like that on your guys' screen too?
Yeah.
Last game was against a weaker team, supposedly. You are right. We should have beaten the Blue Jackets, but we unfortunately did not. Wayne says, let's go Rangers. Roger says, keep the faith. Let's go Rangers. Here is one. We can beat this college team. Will, I know calling them a college team might sound a little unfair. I know, kind of like you mentioned, talking about Logan Cooley, the Coyotes do have a decent amount of talent on their team. but not to like make it restate everything you just said, but just like your thoughts on the Coyotes. Like who else on that team is potentially a threat to the Rangers?
All right, yeah, pulled up their lines because honestly I didn't know. But Nick Schmaltz, he's pretty good. Macchielli or Massielli, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's very good as well. Barrett Hayton, I don't think he's like the greatest, but he's pretty serviceable for them. That's about it. No one on their defense is really of importance. I guess Matt Dumba is all right, but like
They had a guy who was stepping up last year once they traded, I believe it was Gostisbehere, and he was pretty good. And they also traded their other really good defenseman. What was his name? To Ottawa. I can't think of his name. Yeah, Chikrin. Yep. But there was somebody who stepped up because I remember grabbing him in fantasy last year.
Dursey? Might be Sean Dursey.
Something like that. Yeah,
I know he's solid. I know he's
the Kings, right?
Yeah. Yep. And then I mean they're a young team, but I think they're still. I don't think they're good, but they're very young and they're quick. So I think they can. I mean, they shocked the Devils and they won in the shootout. So I mean,
anything can happen.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of question marks. I think that's the biggest thing with their team is it's a lot of young guys who they don't really know what they're capable of yet, and they're all getting a lot of ice time. And it's exactly what the Rangers should have done with Lafreniere and Kakko, and what they didn't. And you're seeing these young guys get more ice time and make the most of it and try and prove why they belong in this league. And I think that's what most teams in a rebuild have to do and are doing. And I think that's why they were able to shock the Devils the other night because there's just so many unknowns, and it's hard to scheme and game plan for a bunch of players who you haven't really seen a whole lot of in the NHL level.
Mm-hmm. And Roger did clarify in the comments that he was referring to their arena. They do play at a college. Kind of embarrassing. We got MSG.
But there are a lot of players who have said their ice is the nicest. Pierre-Luc Dubois said that. Yeah, Pierre-Luc Dubois said that. I think someone on the Rangers said, I can't remember who, but at the end of the year, you know how they survey everyone. Mullet Arena had the highest percentage of people who said their ice is the best.
Really?
Yeah.
Never would have expected that. I would have thought like Toronto or one of the big Canadian like franchises that really just care about the sport. But I think the big thing heading into tonight is that it's our home opener. We will be at the Garden tonight. As Wayne says, it will be rocking. Sorry, I'm not going to keep the comments up the entire time just because it keeps pushing us. It's a weird graphic thing. But we are at home. Colin, what's the importance of home ice advantage for the Rangers tonight?
I think hearing the crowd buzzing and hearing the Garden rocking, I think it's going to be it's that home field advantage. Obviously, it's the crowd is that sixth player on the ice, or I guess seventh if you're counting the goalie. But it can take a team out of it entirely. I mean, we saw it when we were playing the Blue Jackets. They take those goals away, they're cheering, they're ripping and roaring, and all of a sudden, all of our momentum is gone. Whereas when you're the home team, if things like that were to happen, sometimes the crowd can get you back into it. Hockey is just a game of ebbs and flows. It's about riding those highs and having a home crowd like MSG, one of the loudest buildings I've been in. It definitely helps you to ride those highs a little bit longer.
Yeah, home ice advantage is pretty important. Logan says here, I want to see that 1-3-1 neutral zone shut down tonight. That would be nice to see. I think the Rangers played very well defensively in the first game. In the second game, not so much. Will, just through 2 games so far, maybe not even just the 1-3-1 style of defense. But what are your thoughts on the Rangers defensemen so far? Who stood out? What changes would you make if you were Laviolette?
Wouldn't make any changes. If Lindgren's back, I wouldn't make any changes. If it's Jones, I might make a change where Jones is up with Fox instead of Gustafsson, and Gustafsson stays down with Schneider. But I thought the first game our defense looked really good. I thought the second game they looked in the first period they looked all right. They didn't look great. There were definitely some miscues on that third pair. But I mean, it was the second game. They're still working out some kinks. Obviously, they just throw Jones up in there in the 30 minutes beforehand. So Schneider really didn't get any they haven't really got any run together either. So it's can't really get used to each other. But I mean, I think our defense will be fine. They're always all right. They're never great, but I hope that they return back to what they looked like in the first game.
Yeah, and on the subject of Lingard, I know Laviolette did confirm he's a game time decision, so we won't really know what that's going to look like until right before the game starts. But I think it's interesting to note that that morning that we played Columbus, Lindgren did practice. He played with Fox, but then Fox also said in a statement that the entire team was aware that Lindgren wouldn't be playing that night. So I think it's a little weird that Laviolette didn't at least practice with Jones in like the lineup. You know, it kind of just came out of nowhere. We had no idea that was going to happen. We were live, and there was a fan in the chat who said it, and I was like, I don't know if that's real or not, but it ended up being real. So I don't know. Hopefully Lindgren's back. Game time decision. I'm hopeful. I know he practiced again today. The only other roster change that I'm pretty sure is happening is that Pitlick is back in instead of VC, which I don't think it matters that much. We're just like alternating them in and out every game. I think VC looked fine. Colin, I know you had good things to say about the fourth line against Columbus. If you want to touch upon that really quick.
I thought they were a force. I thought they went out there, they were forechecking hard, and they were battling, they were winning those battles. And I think in a game where your top two lines kind of went invisible in that second period, I think it was important for the guys down in the bottom six to kind of spark the team and get them going again. And they did just that. I know Cooley's a third liner, but still getting that goal, it kind of ignites the team and hopefully, you know, gets them going again. Unfortunately, it was too little too late. But I think you have to have a solid bottom six in order to compete. And I think that fourth line is one of the most competitive in the league. And I love the way they look. And I like that they're rotating in VC and Pitlick as opposed to just riding one and not the other. I think that they're both very serviceable players. And I'm happy that they're both getting the ice time they deserve.
Yeah, I think they're both very good. They're very similar players. I don't really like. I prefer VC. I think, in my opinion, but I think that's just because I've seen him play a lot more than Pitlick. You know, Pitlick's kind of new. At the end of the day, I think they're both very good. Will, I'll just quickly ask you what your opinion is on that. But then, as soon as you're done with that, I'm going to start rapid firing through these comments because we're falling a little behind.
Honestly, I say the same as Colin. Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter who's going to be put in there as long as they look good. I know VC had an assist. I don't know who was it on the Cooley goal. He had an assist. I have no clue.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters, but I think you do need a competitive fourth line. I mean, we loved Tyler Mott because he made our fourth line so competitive because he was kind of like he could score goals if he could score some goals, not all the time, obviously. But, you know, you kind of need someone like that. Like Jimmy Vesey is kind of like that. You know, you can slot him up and down the lineup, but he'll score. It doesn't really matter where he's playing. I think Tyler Pitlick's kind of like the same thing. He'll score some goals, not a lot, but you do need a competitive fourth line. So I do agree with that.
Fourth line is very important. Their job isn't to score. It's really to just grind and do all the hard work. And I think the Rangers do have one of the better fourth lines in the league, as you guys said. Let's go through some of these comments really quick. Joe says, never fear, gang. Othman will be up soon enough. I don't know if Othman would get called up just for the sake of being good at this point, just because of how depth-filled our roster is. But if there ever is an injury, which hopefully there is none, but it's hockey, and at some point someone's going to get hurt. I think Othman is very clearly the man that shouldn't and probably will be called up. I don't know, Colin or Will, whichever one of you. Just your thoughts on Othman so far in the AHL, if you've seen anything.
I haven't really been keeping up with him so much in the AHL, but he 100% is the next man up. I think it was between him and Cooley down the wire, and I think that the lack of AHL experience is what hindered Othman. I think that playing in those not lesser leagues, but definitely not as competitive as the AHL. I think they wanted to see what he could do at a higher competition level before they send him right to the NHL and tank his confidence. I think that they want to just get him to, you know, show his skill set a little bit, gain that confidence, and then down the line show what he's got at the NHL level. But he definitely is the next man up, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. He has 2 goals, 2 power play goals. He came in the first game of the season. He has 3 points. I know he's played very well. He's He looks good down there. I was advocating for him to make the lineup, but he said it himself. There was some parts of his games where he needed a little bit more time to get right. So I think him going down to the AHL, getting AHL level action and getting top line minutes up there is better than getting third line or fourth line minutes down here or up here. Sorry. I think he definitely will be the first person to be called up. Before he came into the preseason, I was advocating for him to have at least until December, January down there. And I think that's what they'll do. They'll give him a half a season down there, call him up. He might not be a mainstay. He might come up for a couple games and then go back down, but he will come up at some point during the season, I believe.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's inevitable at this point. He's just too good not to. Here, I'm just going to rapid fire some of these comments. Got to make sure the fans know they are heard. Too many teams throughout history in all sports too often play to their opponent in lieu of playing to whom they are night in and night out. I agree. The Rangers cannot play down to the Arizona Coyotes. They are an NHL team, even if they aren't the best, and they very well can and possibly will win if the Rangers do end up playing down to them. We got another comment here. People say it's amazing being at a game there, meaning Arizona, because every seat is good and you hear everything. That's an aspect of it that I guess I haven't thought about, kind of like a smaller rink. Definitely a lot different atmosphere than MSG, but if I'm ever in Arizona, I might have to. I'm sure it's cheap too. A lot cheaper than MSG.
100%.
Oh my God, it's so expensive.
Joe said Trouba had the save of the game versus Columbus. That is true. Save of the year, possibly. It was an incredible diving play. We've talked about it a couple times, so I won't ask you guys your opinions because I know it's just going to be overwhelmingly positive.
I'll say it is nice to say the one thing I'll touch on this is it's nice to see Trouba starting off the season so strong. I know I'm one of his biggest critics looking at that contract and what he's really done for the Rangers other than big hits and the helmet throw. Obviously he provides that leadership role, but seeing him actually be solid in his own zone, it's definitely a warm and welcoming thought that I'd like to have all season, to be able to lock down and have two really good shutdown lines as opposed to, in my opinion, the Fox and Lindgren line was by far our best line, and then there was a clear step down. I'd like to have like a 1A and 1B. So if Trouba can keep this level of play up, who knows?
It's as iconic as the helmet throw was. I think it's better if we don't have another one of those moments where Trouba doesn't need to motivate his team, and we're already doing what we need to be doing. Will, here's one I want to hear your opinion about. Logan says, I would feel better with Ben Harper rather than Zach Jones, in his opinion. Before I let you just dive into your thoughts on it, I will say with Braden Schneider, I do think that he looked the most solid alongside Harper, just with his revolving door of partners. I know, Colin, you feel the same about that. You've told me a couple times. But what are your opinions, Will?
So when we say are we saying just the ones from last year or from all time? Whenever Schneider was here?
I would just say from right now.
Even with the time that Schneider was here, I think only other than Mikkola, Harper has been his most sturdy and allows him to do what he needs to do.
I would say Braun.
Braun was so bad he got scratched in the playoffs.
No, Nemeth got scratched. I think Nemeth got scratched. Nemeth was there for games 1 and 2, and then Braun was there for the rest of it. I liked Ryan Braun.
I don't know.
I did like Ryan Braun.
Nemeth was
terrible,
bad deal.
See, no, I don't think you can. I don't think you can have Harper up here. I mean, I like him, and it's a good story, but in the time he was up here, he was all right. He wasn't great. I mean, I wouldn't say he was all right. I thought he was pretty bad, actually. But if worse comes to worse and you have to play Jones again, I'd probably put him with Fox or put him with Trouba and then put Miller with Fox and Gustafsson with Schneider. I would keep Gustafsson with Schneider at all times because I think them two were great together. I mean, Gustafsson's really good, but, Schneider kind of needs a solid D partner. But I don't know. I wouldn't call up Harper. That's just me, though.
Over Jones, I'm taking Harper over Jones all day. I'm keeping Lindgren, or I'm keeping Fox with whoever he's with. I like that line. I think they played well together. I think Harper is just a big body. I get he wasn't like the flashiest of players, and he didn't always make the perfect play. But you need a guy, especially on that third line, who's just going to grind, kill that time, and win those net front battles. And I think he was good at that. Was there much else he was good at? No, not really. But he got in the lane and he cleared the lane, and that was really all you need of a third pairing defenseman. Am I going to put him in the top 6? Hell no.
No.
I wouldn't even. I would give him as few minutes as possible. But when he's out there, I think he's the best option in terms of third pairing. Because we saw against the Blue Jackets, Boone Jenner was bullying Zach Jones.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you on that. Yeah,
and I don't think even if you were to put Jones with Fox, Fox is undersized. He's just better at using his size and skill and ability to tie up sticks and clear lanes. But Jones just doesn't have that ability yet. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know. But I think putting them together, I don't know. Like that's the two of the smallest defenders on the Rangers. You want to put them on the same line, that could be a real mess. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably put Jones with Trouba now. I'm thinking about it. Put Jones with Trouba and put Miller with Fox because I think that's what the pair should be. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Harper.
I'm just gonna be optimistic and hope that Ryan Lindgren is in the lineup, and then we won't have to worry.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true. I'm hoping. Let's see.
Yeah, but all right. Moving on. Andrew says Coyotes take a lot of penalties. I see Kreider scoring tonight, and they'll likely try to get Mika one after getting one called off last game. I don't know much about the Coyotes taking penalties. I don't really know. I have any stats on that pulled up, but what I do know is by Will. All right. We're just gonna sit like this for a second. There he is.
He's back. Technical difficulties all the way around today, huh?
This is definitely one for the history books.
I can't. I don't. Oh my god.
But to piggyback off what you're saying, yeah, they're a young team, so they play probably a very undisciplined game. I don't have any of the underlying metrics on it either. But when you're a team that is that young, you're going to play with a lot of spunk and a lot of heart. You're going to want to show the front office that you're not going to back down from anything. But sometimes that can lead to dumb and undisciplined penalties. And hopefully the Rangers can cash in because we know Chris Kreider is the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to the power play. And Zibanejad is almost automatic from that office to the point where there's almost always a guy now there, though. So they have to be careful not to force it there if there's a guy and look to use the bumper and open up that play and make sure that they're just moving the puck around well as opposed to just force feeding Mika.
Yeah, I mean, you said it pretty well right there. The Rangers have a great power play. I'm sure the Coyotes are very undisciplined, and the power play has been decent so far this season. I think we had a power play goal in game one. I don't think we had one against Columbus. Is that right, Colin?
We did. It was late. I think that was how Kreider scored this one. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that one now. Yeah, hopefully we can just keep pulling that stat up because power play is very important. But Will, now that you're back in the stream, I got a comment for you. I want to hear your opinions on. When Othman's called up, I'd like to see Cooley, Trocheck, and Othman on the third line. So just potential line right there. Opinion.
I like it. What do you do, the Wheeler? Do you play him on the fourth line? Then you have to scratch somebody, obviously. But no, I do like that line. I think Cooley and Othman played well together in the preseason. I think Othman got some run time with Trocheck, and they looked pretty good. It's kind of like that grind line that will grind you down, but they'll also put in goals, and that's exactly what you want in the playoffs. Is a grind line that will get pucks in deep, that will play hard on the boards, and they will also that play will also allow them to score goals because someone will get open at some point, and a puck will trickle through, and they'll get a puck to the net. But I like that a lot. I just wanted to say that Ryan Lindgren is in warm-ups right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
But so is Zach Jones. Yeah. So they're both on the ice right now. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, I mean, it's very good to see that Lindgren is on the ice right now. I hope he plays. He's a great player. Looking at the comments here, Christopher says that Othman reminds him of Matthew Tkachuk. I agree there. Very offensive-driven, insane point producer. He's going to score a lot of goals for the Rangers someday.
And he also plays like a pest. If you look back, there was a quote that that Othman actually models his game after a man we all love to hate, Tom Wilson. He models his game after his style of play, but that's the style of play that succeeds in the NHL. Not only does he draw penalties, he pots points. I hate Tom Wilson, but he's a good player. Tkachuk, hate to play against him, would love to have a guy like him. Same with his brother Brady. they're the worst to play against because they're just all over you and they're winning the mental battles as well as winning the physical battles and carrying teams. And I think that's a good player to model your game after, and hopefully that's what he turns out into.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. John says, hopefully the boys can stay onside tonight. Yes, 2 goals called back. It was a little ridiculous last game, but I don't know. I think there's another comment down here. Someone mentioned it right here. Anyone else think the called back goals may have deflated the Rangers' momentum? Absolutely. In a period where you should have realistically been up 3-0, turns into being down 2-1 heading to the second because of 2 offside plays. It's going to have an impact on you mentally. It's hard to come back from that, especially when Columbus enters the second period with as much momentum as they did. Roderick said, no Jimmy Vesey. Yeah, it is confirmed. I believe that Pitlick is in. Michael said, don't think we see Othman until the playoff roster expansion. Why burn a year? Colin, yeah, it's possible that Othman could get called up because of injury, but if the opportunity arised where Othman was just playing really, really good and someone like Barclay Goodrow, let's say, is playing really, really bad, would you make the call up for him, just because he's playing well, or do you think it's better to wait another year?
I think that it's just better to wait the year. Why burn a year of his ELC? I think that's a great way to put it. I think that the Rangers are also fortunate enough where they have the depth where if, God forbid, something were to happen to somebody, right, VC slides back in and everybody goes up 1. And that's all it really is. You put Wheeler on that. So say something was to happen to Loff or Wheeler, then if something happens to Loff, Wheeler slots in on that second line. VC moves in on the third, and then you keep Pitlick on the fourth. Or something happens to Wheeler, you put VC on that third line and keep Pitlick on the fourth. We have depth now to the point where we can have consistent NHLers without having to rush him. I'd rather, after watching the Rangers year after year after year, just rush these prospects. I'd like to see them take their time with one and actually develop him, because the Rangers have developed this bad, not a characteristic, but this bad take that where we can't develop prospects. And yeah, we've struggled for sure, but there's also names that we have developed, and people tend to not look at them and they say Shesterkin was already developed. But you look at the defensemen that we've had come through the ranks, and it sucks because we're looking at Kakko and Loff thinking, are they going to do it? And so I think that after looking at them and how quick we were to put them in the league and not give them the minutes that they needed to really develop, I think that he will put it best that he will probably do better getting top 6 minutes in the AHL than he will bottom 6 minutes in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said if the Rangers were to ever call Othman up, it has to be at least top 9. To have a guy like him down on the 4th line, it's just wasting his talent and his potential. I'd rather see him in the top 6. This viewer agrees with us. He's much better off getting his reps in there for the whole year. So I have to agree there. You want to give a good prospect such as Othman real top 6 minutes. But Will, one thing I'll ask you before we start to wrap things up in about 10 minutes is Kaapo Kakko, only top 6 player to not record a point just yet. Are you concerned at all, or is it just it's only 2 games type thing?
It's only 2 games type thing. I think he might just be a little slower to get on the score sheet. I think today he's going to rip a one-timer. It's going to find the back of the twine, just go right through it. No, but I think today he's going to score a goal or get on the score sheet at least. I could see him ripping a one-timer, like I just said, and just Connor Ingram not being able to get over. But I hope I don't think it's anything serious. Anything people should look into. I think sometimes players will just take a little longer to get on the score sheet. He still had some good games though.
I think a large part of it too is also the fact that Mika and Kreider are on the power play and on the penalty kill. So they got points on both of those, whereas Kakko is really only on that second unit and they haven't cashed in yet. I think that the everybody else in the top 6 is kind of afforded a little bit more time. I know Loff and Hedel have done it on their own, and power to them. But I think that to say that I also wouldn't. I don't think it's anything to look into, and it's the points will come. And we've been saying that for years, but I think that this is really his year and that he just needs a little bit of time to gain some familiarity with the bromance, as we mentioned in an episode a couple days ago. And I think that Lafreniere and Hedl are lucky in the fact that they have each other and they've always played with each other on that third line. And so they get that familiarity of playing with each other on that second line now, whereas Kakko is kind of the odd man out on that first one. Not that they're not looking at him and they're looking him off, but in that he doesn't have the comfortability and the familiarity of the line mates.
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off, Eric. I agree with you, Colin. Obviously, like you said, Kreider and Kreider and Zibanejad play on the penalty kill power play as well, power play 1 unit. But I think Kakko will be fine. I mean, also he hasn't. I think the last time he played with Kreider and Zibanejad was last October. So I mean, obviously they were in the time they played, they were the best Ranger line at 5v5, but they also haven't played in almost a year. So it's like, you got to get some familiarity back with it. Couldn't get it out.
I'm in agreement with the two of you. That's what I was just going to say, Will. I think even though it's been 2 scoreless games for Kakko so far, he has not looked bad by any means. He looks more confident. He looks strong with the puck, as he always has. And he's really showing how far his development has come. And just because he hasn't scored in 2 games, I don't think we should be reaching for the panic button or anything. It'll come. He's on the first line. I feel like you can put anyone on the first line and they're going to start to score points at some point, but I'm still very confident in him. And I would like to see him score a goal today because I've been saying it a lot recently, just ever since the season started with preseason and training camp, about how much I like Kakko. But I think I can officially say he's my second favorite Ranger. I don't know why. I really like Kakko. Panarin is obviously number 1. But it is 6:51, so we're going to be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. We'll end right before game time, so we all have time to sit down and turn on our TVs. So to everyone who's in the chat listening, if there's any final questions you guys have or things you want us to touch upon, now is the time to comment. But as always, to start to wrap things up, I want to go over our score predictions and expectations. I think the Rangers will bounce back and get a pretty big win. Yes, Arizona has a lot of talented players, and they should not be underestimated. But I think we're going to see another type of Rangers versus Buffalo type of game where the Rangers are just going to be dominant. I don't know if we'll put up 5 goals, but I think maybe a 3-1, 4-1 victory might be in sight. Colin, if you want to go next.
I'm going to predict 4-2. I'm predicting a 3-2 game. It's going to be tight till the end because Arizona, everybody's fighting for a roster spot at all times. And Connor Ingham's no slouch. He played well in the playoffs a couple of years ago when Jesse Saros went down for the Nashville Predators. And he played well on, I believe, I don't know where he was last year. I think he was also still on the Coyotes. But he wasn't bad last year.
I think he was with the Coyotes. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But I think that it's going to be an empty netter at the end of the game. And I think Kakko's going to get a goal. I agree with you there. He's going to hit the twine. And I think that we're going to see a strong game from that fourth line.
I hope so.
I think it's going to be 4-1. And I'm going to say that Nick Bonino scores.
Really?
I like it. I went on StatMuse. I looked up tried looking up all the players' stats in the lineup against the Coyotes, and they limited my search results. But Nick Bonino, in 44 games played, has 9 goals, 22 assists for 31 points and a +15. I think he pots a goal.
So bet Nick Bonino anytime goal scorer.
If it doesn't hit, do not blame on me.
Yeah.
Do not blame it on me if it does not hit.
We just lost 10 subscribers because of Will.
Everyone's going to come back next episode. Why is this guy on the show?
John says, I think everyone overlooks players like Kakko because they don't have points and don't take into account the offensive pressure and chances they create. You're 100% right there. Just because Kakko hasn't scored any points, not to sound like I'm repeating myself, but he's looked very, very good so far. And I think the points will come with time. And after Kakko makes his adjustments to the first line, kind of like Colin mentioned. Roderick says, look up the super fans from SNL 80s/90s. That's always my take night in and night out. I don't really watch SNL. I don't know if you guys do, because I don't understand that.
SNL guy, but I'll make sure to give it a look.
Yeah, Roderick, you might have found too young of podcast hosts to know his SNL references at this point in time. Let's see here. Who do all of you think, Lafreniere or Kakko, more points this season? I'm leaning towards Lafreniere only because of Panarin. I think you could make the argument that Panarin will inflate Lafreniere's stats, but at the same time, I think you could make the same argument about Kreider and Zibanejad with Kakko. And I do think that although Lafreniere should see a little bit of an increase in his point production this season, once again, the same can also go for Kakko. And Kakko, in my opinion, is a little farther along in his development. So I'm going to have to lean with Kakko. But Colin, what's your take?
I don't know. I was a big Kakko guy this offseason and a big Loff hater for sure. Not that I wanted to move, but I had my doubts. But Loff has looked good through these first 2 games. I know he had a couple of miscues in that last game. But I think that Lafreniere might actually outscore Kakko. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping that they both push each other to be better, and they're both putting up 50 to 60 points. But I think that Panarin is just more of a playmaker than Zibanejad and Kreider are. I think they're both shooters. I mean, Mika obviously has playmaking ability, but I think if you look at Panarin, he's purely a playmaker. I mean, obviously he has the ability to score, but you look at him and his skill set, I think he is most definitely a playmaker more than he is a shooter.
Yeah. Will, what about you?
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I think I'm going to lean more towards Loft because Panarin is a playmaker. I mean, yeah, he's going to shoot. He's going to score goals, but he's more of a passer. I mean, we all know that. So I think he's going to set up Loft a lot this year. And Loft's going to put a lot of pucks behind in the net because of Panarin's passing ability. He's going to just find him in like the most random areas, and Lafreniere's going to snipe one.
Panarin is one of the greatest playmakers in the NHL right now. So if there's anyone who can really help Lafreniere get things going, I think he is the man. John coming in with an incredibly hot take. Fox.
He's saying Fox is going to score. The anytime goal being Fox. I like it.
He did later go on to say Fox, a goal he is due. Fox hasn't scored a goal yet. He has a couple of assists throughout 2 games, but I think a goal is due. Fox has looked pretty well throughout both games so far, in my opinion. I'm assuming you guys don't disagree with me there that Fox has looked good.
No, Fox always looks good.
Fox. He's limitless.
It's Adam Fox. You can't say anything bad about him. That's why we never have any Fox content on this channel, because there's nothing to critique.
He's just too consistently good. There's there's no talking points.
Good. Hopefully there is a day where this channel just ceases to exist because we have nothing to critique about the Rangers. We're just so perfect and winning. That's the only time I'll ever stop making content. Roderick went on to explain his SNL thing. They would have insane projections about the Bears. If the Rangers were to ever win a game 100-0,
oh my God,
I would get the date tatted on my arm. The late great Chris Farley showing his comedy gold. It does sound
Chris Farley. He was funny.
I might actually have to look that up. Great. That sounds pretty funny. But yeah, it's 6:58, so I guess we'll start to wrap things up. I'll leave everyone in the comments one more minute, just any final questions before.
I got something. I'm gonna cook up a parlay right here that everyone should do. I'm gonna go Trouba anytime goal scorer, Wheeler anytime goal scorer, and Bonino anytime goal scorer.
If that hits, I will promote you to the new main host.
And if not, be sure to let Will know your problems with him in the comment section below.
Yeah, when you guys bet the mortgage and it doesn't happen, just don't blame me, please. Don't come finding my address.
That's funny. But as John says, have a good night. We'll start to really just wrap things up here. We'll be covering the game on all of our social medias at Fireside Rangers on both Twitter and Instagram. So be sure to leave a follow on those. And then here on Fireside Rangers on YouTube, make sure everyone likes, subscribes, ring that bell so you don't miss a notification. I know that it is a live stream, but as we wrap up, just rapid fire your score predictions in the comments so we can take a look at these as we wrap up and throughout the game to see if anyone makes a correct prediction. But we will be back tomorrow to provide you guys with some post-game coverage, really talk about what went right or what went wrong, depending on the outcome of this game. I hope we make a happy video tomorrow, though.
That'd be nice.
Not like yesterday's. But, yeah, thank you to everyone who joined us today. and we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go
Rangers.
Go Rangers.
You messed it up, Will.
Damn it.